Hi everyone, Nora the Leca Queen here. Thank you so much for joining me today on my channel where we discuss all things indoor plants. Today we will be talking about the fiddle leaf fig. I have 6 of them. I know, 6 is a bit much. Stick with me and I will show you my biggest variegated fiddle leaf fig at the end, and I'll tell you a little story about how I almost killed her. But let's talk about fiddles. Why do I have so many fiddles? I have so many fiddles because I had my very first indoor plant that I got when we finished building our new house was a fiddle leaf fig, of course influenced by Instagram and all the other interior decor things that I was looking at. And I got this plant and it was really big, it was this big, and I called her Molly. The only plant I have ever named, and I talk about Molly all the time. She's my first post on my Plantstagram. So I got Molly, we moved into this new house, conditions were not the best, I was not the best plant parent, and suffice to say, Molly is now dead. R.I.P. Molly. But I have learned a lot of lessons from Molly's death, and I decided I was going to conquer the fiddle leaf fig, and I think I have. And so we will dive straight into fiddle leaf figs. So I've got one fiddle leaf fig here. This one is actually got 2 stems in there. And of course I should mention that all my fiddles live in Leca. Of course they would, wouldn't they? So that is another really, relatively big fiddle living in Leca. I really love this one. I think she's my favorite. She's doing so well. Look at the size of that new leaf. It's just fabulous. And look at how the leaves are just beautiful. There's no blackening. There's no any of this other rubbish that you get with fiddles because they're so difficult. It's true. They just are. I'm sorry, they are. I've got another one here. Look at that one too. That one's doing really well as well. Living in Leca, that's the reservoir, going really lovely. I'll show you my Bambino. My Bambino's actually, funnily enough, the biggest fiddle that I have. This is my fiddle Bambino. Bambino, as far as I could tell, was supposed to be small, which is why it's called Bambino. And I'm wondering now whether they mean small leaves as opposed to small plant, because this plant just keeps growing and growing and growing. I keep expecting her to stop, but she's not. I've got a metal rod on there just to give her some support because she is not, she just keeps growing taller. But just so people don't knock into her and she breaks, I've got that support in. She's living in Leca as well. That is her reservoir, and that there is the solution. So yes, what do I do with my fiddles? Nothing. I have put them in Leca and they're very happy in Leca. It was a big gamble that I took. I decided I was going to put my fiddle leaf figs in Leca because one of the things that fiddles enjoy is consistency in watering. They do not like to be overwatered and they do not like to be underwatered. Very difficult balance to strike in soil, I've found. So when I started on my semi-hydro journey, I thought, hang on, I think the fiddle leaf fig is a perfect plant to put in semi-hydroponics. And I did that. And what's really funny though is that a fiddle actually has quite delicate roots. The roots are not as thick or as big as you would think they are. So I was pretty scared doing that. But yeah, that was completely and warranted. I'm trying to see if I can find a fiddle with roots that I can show you, that you can appreciate. So this one has got some roots going. Oh, it's a bit hard. Oops, lost a leaf there. That was bound to go. This one's a bit hard to show. I wonder if you can see the roots there. They're not very big, but they're healthy roots, and the plant is happy. As you know, fiddles are very finicky, so I don't want to do that. Let's see if I can see that from my Bambino. Yeah. So if you look at the Bambino there, you can see the roots. They're very, very tiny roots. That's a root there. Very, very tiny. And, you know, I found that they are absolutely suited to Leca because they enjoy being able to absorb what they need when they need it, and it's fine. And it was actually quite easy to transition the fiddles from soil to Leca. All I did was take the soil off and then put it in the Leca and put it in the reservoir, same as I do with all my other plants, and they were fine. I did not even lose a single leaf, so that was really, really good. So that's the thing, consistency in watering. So whether you're doing soil or whether you're doing semi-hydroponics, it's that consistency in watering that fiddles really enjoy. The next thing, light. Of course, any plant enjoys light, but fiddles really do like to have some good light on them. So not direct sunlight, because that'll burn off the leaves, and your fiddle will show you very, very quickly that its leaves are burning. So some nice indirect sunlight, and keep it consistent. I'm sure you'll have heard people saying that fiddles don't like to be moved. They like to stay in the one place. The second you change the conditions, they get unhappy. So if you can keep your fiddle in one place, keep it well hydrated, give it some good light, fiddle will be happy. The next thing that you need to do is clean the leaves. The fiddle leaf fig has got massive leaves, right? Look at that. That is really, really big. You need to clean those leaves because the plant needs the leaves in order to photosynthesize and make its food. So if it's covered in dust, it's not able to photosynthesize as effectively as it normally would. So I generally use, you know, a solution with a little bit of neem oil in there just to act as pest deterrent as well. And just clean those off when you can with a microfiber cloth, and your plants are happy. I mean, it's obviously you're not going to have 5 fiddles probably, or 6 fiddles like me, but you know, if you've got the 1 or the 2, just take a little bit of time, have, you know, put a movie on or something and just clean those leaves, and your plant will love you for it. So what do I have in the reservoir of my plants? What do I have in the reservoir? If you've watched any of my videos, you will know by now what I have in my reservoir. I have a growth technology foliage focus solution. So generally 5 mils per liter of my growth technology foliage focus, and my plant is happy. That is all I give my plants. That is all, nothing else, apart from a foliar spray once in a while, but even that is not a constant. It's really just the foliage focus in the reservoir, which is there. See, that's what's dripping off the plant right there, and that's it. And my plant is happy. Let's talk about pinching and notching. Have you heard these terms? You will have heard these terms if you've been looking about anything to do with fiddle leaf fig care. So pinching and notching are techniques that are used to get the fiddle to branch, right? So what you can have is a situation like my Bambino. So if you look at my Bambino here, it's just one stem, one branch, and it's just going straight up, which can be a little bit boring. You know, when you see fiddles online, usually they've got a branch there, and it just looks majestic, and that's what we like about the fiddle. So how do you get your fiddle to branch? So branching a fiddle is using techniques called pinching or notching. Pinching I find to be the easiest, because when you're pinching a plant, all you're doing is literally pinching off the top growth, the growth point at the very, very top. So you've got that there. This is going to be the next leaf coming out of this. So all you do when you're pinching is just clip that off, literally just pinch it off. And what will then happen is, instead of having that leaf come out, because of course you've pinched it off and it's gone now, what the plant will do is make 2. So there'll be one leaf coming out over there and another leaf coming out over there. And that's how you create branching. So I'll show you branching. I pinched one of my fiddles. Oh, I don't know if I can show this one to you now. I don't know how effective I can be. So this here, this over here was where I pinched. So I clipped that off. You can see that's cut off. And then I got this branch here and I've got this branch here. So this one over here is a new branch. Oh, this is so difficult to show. This one over here is a new branch and this one over here is a new branch. And this is the old stalk. So I've now got this. This branch is going a lot faster than this one. I find that happens. I'm not sure why. Maybe someone out there knows and they can tell us. But yes, so this fiddle is now going to have two branches and it'll go out that way. So the other thing you can do is notch. So notching is where you make a cut above the node. So there's a growing point where the leaf would come out from. That's a growing node. You make a cut above there. And what that does, in theory, is divert all the, growing hormones and things from going up, and it diverts it to the growth node that's not growing, that's not active, and then that becomes active, and then you've got a branch coming through. They say that it's better to do this in the growing season, in the spring. So I won't do this on my fiddles just yet because in Australia, we're in autumn now, we're going into winter. And I want to do that when the plant is actively growing. So come spring, I will be notching my fiddle, especially this baby over here, this Bambino, to see if I can actually activate branching on that. So that's what I'm going to do. Yes, that is my Bambino. I will now show you one of my variegated fiddle leaf figs. They do exist. This is one of my variegated fiddle leaf figs. This is a tiny, tiny plant. I'll take it out of its pot so you can see it. Tiny, tiny little thing. Cost me a bit. Tiny, tiny little thing living in Leca, of course, and it is all doing so well. This is a new leaf right here. Look at how glorious. How beautiful is that leaf? That's just absolutely beautiful. And there's a teeny, teeny, tiny one that's just come out over there. And you can see right there is another one coming as well. So it's safe to say this plant is taking off. I got her quite a number of months ago and she's living in Leca and she hasn't been doing much, to be honest, but I guess that's the transition period that she's been going through, and she's very comfortable now and she's producing those leaves. But just look at the perfection in this leaf. Sometimes with fiddle leaf figs, you get these little red dots on the leaves that are as a result of edema. So the plant is taking on much more liquid than it needs and it manifests in the leaves. But look, this plant is living in semi-hydroponics. It's virtually living in water. There are no red spots. There's no sign of edema in this plant at all. So that's an old leaf. That's an old leaf. Those will probably drop off a lot later. But the plant is actively growing and doing really, really well. I'm so happy with that one. Cannot wait for it to get so much bigger and just to start looking the part. So yes, we are now gotten to the best part. We are now at the best part. I am going to show you my big variegated fiddle leaf fig. Don't be disappointed. I know I've hyped it up quite a lot. It's not as fantastic as I'm saying it used to be, but here we go. So this right here is my big variegated fiddle leaf fig. I love her. She's one of my favorite plants. I've been so hard on her, but she forgives me time and time again. So this one is also living in Leca, and those are her roots. They're very, very healthy roots. So like I said, the Fiddles roots are actually quite thin, not as big as you would think, but they're quite small. This one is living in semi-hydro and is really, really happy. So when I got this plant, it was actually quite big. And of course, when I got it, I was very conflicted. I didn't know whether I should leave it in its big, big, big pot with lots and lots of soil around it, or I should take it out and put it in semi-hydro. But I decided, hey, you only live once, why not? If I say semi-hydro works for everything, I must do it for everything. So I got my really expensive plant and I whacked it in semi-hydro. And of course, while I was at it, I thought, why not let me pinch it? So I took off the tip, and yeah, the tip did not survive. The tip died. So it's not all success stories, guys. We all have our incidents and our issues with plant killing and cutting killing, including me. So yeah, this is what I got left with, and it was doing really, really well. And then of course, you might know that I recently moved house. So it was a very, very big move, and some of my plants did not fare so well, and this was one of them. So as you can see, some of these leaves have this brown discoloration. So I reckon it was probably, you know, the change in humidity, change in lighting, and all those kinds of things manifesting itself and, you know, basically destroying my leaves. So I've had a few leaves drop off as well, but I have also had, look at this. Have you ever seen anything this glorious? This is a huge leaf. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And like I said, look, there's no edema, there's no red dots, there's nothing. This is a perfect leaf. This one as well. That is a new leaf, absolutely perfect. I think my plant has forgiven me. I've got the signs of a new leaf coming there, and I think we're doing really, really well with this one. Remember, I said I pinched her. I took the tip off, and basically when you take the tip off, whether it's a big chunk of the tip or just a little bit, it's still pinching. And that actually caused my plant to branch. So I actually do have a branch from this one. So if you look here, here is where I cut the tip off, right? And this one here is a new branch. This one was a new branch, and then you've got these two leaves here. They're forming a new branch. So this plant is now going to have two branches. When it settles down and starts giving me leaves consistently, it's going to have two branches. So I'm really, really happy with this one actually. It's really, I've put it through the ringer. It has not had a very good start to life in my care, but I think she's forgiven me. I'm doing everything I can to keep her happy, and I think she is happy. So that is my variegated fiddle leaf fig. And I'll put my little one next to it so you can see the both of them together. That's my two variegated fiddle leaf figs, and I feel so honored to have them because not too many people have a variegated fiddle leaf fig. So that's it. That is basically how I care for my fiddle leaf figs. So the first thing is, if you are into semi-hydro, put your plants in semi-hydro. That's the best thing for it, in my opinion. So either put it in semi-hydro and make sure you're topping up that reservoir and cleaning it out as often as you can, or be consistent in the watering of your plant that is in soil. Consistency is key, and do not overwater. They do not like that. Consistent light supply is what they like, so provide some consistent indirect sunlight, not direct sunlight, otherwise you will burn off your leaves. And then of course you need to clean the leaves. Clean the leaves so that the plant can make its food properly. And then foliar spray, if you're into that kind of thing, that will definitely help. It's got large leaves, large absorption area for taking in nutrients, so use them if you can. And then of course, if you do want your fiddle leaf fig to branch, you can look into notching or pinching. Well, that's it about my fiddle leaf figs. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and press the notification bell for new videos. And I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye.